The rope burned against Lysana's wrists as she thrashed against the wooden post. Her emerald dress torn and mud-stained from the struggle that had brought her here. The auction block reeked of desperation and greed, and the jeering crowd before her made her stomach churn with disgust. She could hear the auctioneer's voice rising above the chaos, describing her like livestock. 25 gold pieces for this fine specimen. Look at those curves, gentlemen. Sheriff Corvin Thorne spurred, his black stallion through the crowd, his jaw clenched tight as he witnessed the horrific scene. His badge caught the dying sunlight as he dismounted with deadly precision, his hand already resting on his Colt revolver. The crowd parted before him like water, recognizing the storm brewing in his steel-gray eyes. "This auction is over, Corvin's voice cut through the noise like a blade. "Release the woman," the auctioneer, a greasy man with gold teeth, sneered. "You've got no authority here, Sheriff. This is private property, and she's payment for debts owed." Corvin's gun cleared leather. In a heartbeat, the barrel pointing directly at the man's heart, I said, "Release her now." As chaos erupted around them, Lysiana felt a strange pull in her chest, not toward her rescuer, but toward something else entirely. The mystical bond mark on her shoulder blade began to burn, hidden beneath the fabric of her dress. Somewhere, in the distance, another soul was calling to hers. And it wasn't the handsome sheriff fighting for her freedom. The crowd scattered as Corvin's deputies arrived. Surrounding the illegal auction, with swift movements, he cut Lysiana free, catching her as she collapsed against his chest. She looked up into his weathered face, seeing kindness there, but her heart remained eerily silent. "Are you hurt?" His voice was gentle now, concerned. "No," she whispered, though the burning sensation on her shoulder blade suggested otherwise. "God, you don't understand. I can't stay with you." Corvin helped her to her feet, his hands lingering on her arms. "Ma'am, you're safe now. Can't hurt you anymore?" But Lysiana knew her safety was an illusion. The binding mark meant she belonged to someone else entirely, someone whose very existence she'd tried to deny. As Corvin escorted her away from the auction block, she felt the invisible thread pulling tighter, drawing her toward a destiny she'd spent years running from. "What's your name?" Corvin asked as they walked toward his horse. "Lysiana Vex," she replied, the surname feeling foreign on her tongue. She'd abandoned it long ago. But the mark on her shoulder blade wouldn't let her forget her true identity as they rode toward town. Lysiana pressed her face against Corvin's back, breathing. In his scent of leather and cedar, he was everything a woman could want: strong, honorable, brave. Yet her heart remained locked away, waiting for another key entirely. Behind them, in the shadows of the abandoned auction site, a figure watched their retreat. Crimson eyes gleamed with possessive hunger, and a low growl rumbled through the darkness. The hunt was about to begin. 3 days later, Lysiana stood at the window of Corvin's modest home, her hands trembling as she watched the tree line. The sheriff had been nothing but respectful, giving her his bed while he slept on the couch, bringing her meals, and asking no questions about her past. Yet the burning sensation on her shoulder blade had only intensified. "You're troubled," Corvin observed, entering the room with 2 cups of coffee. His uniform was pristine despite the early hour, its badge polished to a mirror shine. Lysiana accepted the cup gratefully, inhaling the rich aroma. "I should leave. My presence here puts you in danger." "Danger from who?" "Those slavers are behind." Barcy turned away from the window, meeting his earnest gaze. "Not from them. From someone far worse." Corvin set down his coffee and approached her slowly, as if she were a wounded animal that might bolt. "Lysiana, I've been sheriff of this territory for 8 years. I've faced down outlaws, rustlers, and worse. Let me protect you." The sincerity in his voice made her chest ache. Here was a good man offering her safety, respect, even growing affection. Why couldn't her heart respond? Why did every fiber of her being scream that she belonged elsewhere? "You don't understand the kind of bond I'm trapped in," she whispered. "It's not something human law can break." Before Corvin could respond, a howl pierced the morning air, long, mournful, and decidedly inhuman. Lysiana's cup shattered against the floor as she gripped the windowsill. The mark on her shoulder blade flared to life, burning through the borrowed dress. "What in God's name?" Corvin began. But his words died as he saw the creature emerging from the forest. Dragon Night Whisper stood 7 feet tall in his human form, his long silver hair flowing like moonlight despite the morning sun. Intricate tattoos covered his muscled arms, and his crimson eyes fixed on the window where Lysiana stood frozen. Even at this distance, his supernatural beauty was breathtaking and terrifying. "He's come for me," Lysiana breathed, her voice barely audible. Corvin drew his weapon, positioning himself between her and the window. "Who is that, my mate?" The words tasted like ashes. "The one I was promised to before I was born." Dragon began walking toward the house with predatory grace, each step deliberate and measured. He wore black leather that seemed to absorb the light, and power radiated from him like heat from a forge. "Promised by who? My father?" Lysiana's voice cracked. "He made a pact with Dragon's pack. I was to be the bridge between human and shifter territories, sealed with an unbreakable bond." Corvin's grip tightened on his gun. "Unbreakable doesn't mean unwilling. You have a choice, Lysiana." She laughed bitterly. "Do I?" She turned, pulling down the neck of her dress to reveal the intricate mark burned into her shoulder blade. It glowed with an otherworldly light, pulsing in rhythm with her heartbeat. Corvin stared at the mark, his face pale. "What is that? A soul bond. It means I'm tied to him forever, whether I want to be or not." Tears streamed down her face. "The closer he gets, the stronger it becomes. Soon I won't be able to resist it at all." Dragon had reached the front porch, his footsteps echoing like thunder. When he spoke, his voice carried through the walls with supernatural clarity. "Lysiana." Her name on his lips sent shivers through her entire body. "Come to me, little mate. You've run far enough." Corvin positioned himself at the front door, his hands steady on his weapon despite facing something beyond his understanding. "She doesn't want to go with you." Dragon's laugh was rich and dark, like aged whiskey. "Sheriff, you're interfering in matters that predate your civilization." "Stand aside." "The hell I will." Corvin's voice carried the authority of years spent protecting others. "This is my jurisdiction, and she's under my protection." Through the window, Lysiana watched the 2 men face off, one representing everything, safe and civilized, the other embodying raw, primal power. The bond mark pulsed stronger with each passing moment, making her legs weak. "You think that metal trinket in your hand can stop me?" Dragon gestured dismissively at Corvin's gun. "I am Alpha of the Shadow Moon Pack. I've torn apart entire armies." "Maybe. So, but she's chosen to be here with me." Dragon's crimson eyes flicked to the window where Lysiana stood. Even from this distance, she felt the full force of his supernatural magnetism pulling at her soul. "Have you, little mate? Have you truly chosen, or are you simply running from what terrifies you?" Lysiana pressed her palms against the glass, her breath fogging the surface. The truth was, she hadn't chosen anything she'd been fleeing her entire adult life, desperate to escape a destiny that felt like a cage. "I won't be owned," she called out, her voice stronger than she felt. "Owned?" Gagan's expression shifted, hurt flickering across his perfect features. "Is that what you think this bond represents?" He began circling the house with fluid movements, forcing Corvin to track him through the windows. "Lysiana, I have waited 23 years for you. 23 years of rejecting every other female, of holding my pack together through wars and famines, all because I knew my true mate existed somewhere in this world." His words hit her like physical blows. "You don't know me, don't I?" Dragon paused directly beneath her window, tilting his head back to meet her gaze. "You have nightmares about running through forests you've never seen. You feel most alive during thunderstorms. You heal faster than ordinary humans, and you've never been able to fully love anyone because your soul recognizes it belongs elsewhere." Lysiana gasped, stumbling backward. Every word was true. "She's staying here," Corvin declared, peering in the doorway with his weapon trained on Dragon. The shifter Alpha barely spared him a glance. "Sheriff, your bravery is admirable but misguided. Look at her mark, against her will." Lysiana's hand moved to her shoulder. The bond mark was now glowing so brightly it showed through her dress, pulsing like a second heartbeat. "The closer I am, the stronger it becomes," Driggin explained, his voice gentle despite his intimidating presence. "If I leave again, it will fade to manageable levels. But it will never disappear, and it will never allow her to truly bond with another." Corvin's face went white as he processed the implications. "You're saying she'll never be able to love someone else?" "The bond doesn't prevent love, Sheriff. It simply ensures that any other love will always feel incomplete, like missing a vital part of oneself." Lysiana sank to her knees as the truth crashed over her. Every relationship she'd attempted, every man she'd tried to care for, they'd all felt hollow because her soul was literally bound to another. "This is why you can't feel what I feel for you," Corvin said quietly, understanding dawning in his eyes. She nodded, tears streaming down her face. "I'm sorry, you deserve someone who can love you completely." Dragon stepped closer to the house, his voice softening. "Little mate, I'm not here to drag you away against your will. I'm here to offer you a choice. A real choice. Come with me. Willingly learn about the bond between us, and if after 1 month you still wish to leave, I'll find a way to break it." "Bonds like that can't be broken," Corvin said. "No," Dragon agreed, "but they can be transferred, at great cost to both parties, but it can be done." The weight of Dragon's offer hung in the air like smoke from a funeral pyre. Lysiana remained on her knees, caught between two impossible choices: a life of safety, but perpetual emptiness with Corvin, or surrendering to a supernatural bond that terrified her to her core. 1 month, she repeated, her voice barely above a whisper. Dragon nodded, his crimson eyes never leaving her face. 30 days to know me, to understand what we could be together. If at the end you still wish to be free, I'll perform the severance ritual." Corvin holstered his weapon, his shoulders sagging in defeat. "And what happens to you if you break this bond?" "I die," Dragon replied simply. An alpha cannot survive the severing of his mate bond. But if that's what she truly wants, then I'll give her that choice. The casual way he spoke of his own death made Lysiana's stomach lurch. She rose unsteadily to her feet, studying the strange shifter who claimed to be her other half. "Why would you do that?" "Because love without choice isn't love at all. Little mate, it's possession, and you deserve better than that." His words struck something deep within her. Here was a being of immense power voluntarily offering to sacrifice everything for her freedom. It was the opposite of what she'd expected from the monster she'd imagined him to be. Corvin approached her slowly, his expression resigned, but gentle. "Lysiana, if there's even a chance this bond could make you happy, truly happy, then maybe you should try." "I can't ask you to understand. I don't need to understand," he interrupted. "I just need to know you'll be safe. Well, she'll be safe with you." This last question was directed at Dragon. "I would tear apart anyone who tried to harm her, including myself, if I became a threat to her well-being." Corvin studied the alpha for a long moment, then nodded slowly. "I believe you." He turned back to Lysiana, taking her hands in his. "You've been running your whole life. Maybe it's time to stop and see what you're really running from." The bond. Mark pulsed against her shoulder blade, no longer feeling quite so much like a brand of ownership. "If I go with you," she said to Dragon, "what exactly are you expecting?" "Nothing more than your presence," he replied. "You'll have your own chambers, your own space. No pressure, no demands. Simply time to explore what exists between us." Lysiana looked between the two men, one offering her a comfortable prison, the other offering her the key to her own chains. The choice, when viewed that way, became obvious. "I'll come with you," she decided. "But I want Corvin's word that if something goes wrong, if I need help, he'll come for me." "You have it," Corvin said immediately. Dragon's face transformed with relief and something deeper hope. "There's something else you should know before you decide finally." "What now?" she asked, exhausted by revelations. "The bond works both ways, Lysiana. You feel drawn to me, but I've been going slowly insane from wanting you." His voice roughened. "Every day you've been gone has been agony. If you reject the bond after truly knowing me, I won't be the only one who dies." She felt the blood drain from her face. "What do you mean?" The bond has been growing stronger in both of us. If it's severed now, after all these years, the psychic shock could kill you too. Corvin stepped forward angrily. You didn't think to mention that detail earlier? I wanted her to choose freely, not out of fear for her life, Lysiana pressed. Her hands to her temples, feeling the walls closing in around her. My choices are, live half a life with Corvin, take a chance on happiness with you, or die trying to break free entirely. I'm afraid so, little mate, she laughed, the sound edged with hysteria. Some choice, Lysiana Dragon said gently. I know this isn't how you imagined your life would go. It isn't how I imagined it either. But perhaps we could try to make the best of what fate has given us. The Shadow Moon Pack's territory sprawled across a hidden valley accessible only through ancient paths known to the shifters. Lysiana rode behind Dragon on his massive black motorcycle. Her arms wrapped around his waist as they navigated winding mountain roads that seemed to exist in perpetual twilight. Despite her fear, she found herself acutely aware of his warmth. The steady rhythm of his breathing, the way his muscles moved beneath her hands. The bond mark had settled into a steady pulse, no longer painful but impossible to ignore. We're almost there, Dragon called over the wind, his voice carrying. Clearly, despite the engine noise, they crested a ridge, and Lysiana gasped. Below them lay a village that seemed torn from a fairy tale wooden buildings with intricate carvings. Gardens bursting with flowers that glowed softly in the dim light, and people moving with the fluid grace that marked them as more than human. It's beautiful, she breathed. It's home, he replied, and she heard the pride in his voice. My pack has lived here for over 3 centuries. As they descended into the valley, Lysiana noticed the curious stares following their progress. Children, with amber eyes peered from doorways, and adults paused in their daily tasks to watch the Alpha return with his. Mysterious passenger Dragon parked in front of a massive wooden lodge that dominated the village center. The building rose 4 stories high, its walls covered in the same intricate carvings that adorned the other structures. Power emanated from it like heat from a forge. The pack house, Dragon explained, helping her from the motorcycle. Where? The Alpha and his family live. Family. My sister Nixia is my second in command. You'll meet her shortly, along with the pack elders. Paused, studying her face. Are you having second thoughts? Lysiana looked around at the supernatural beauty surrounding them. Everything here felt alive in a way she'd never experienced. In the human world, no second thoughts. Just ... overwhelmed. A woman emerged from the lodge, moving with predatory grace. She was tall and lean, with the same silver hair as Dragon, but eyes like liquid gold. Her beauty was sharp enough to cut, and the power radiating from her made Lysiana's skin prickle. So the woman said, circling them slowly, "This is the little human who's had my brother pining for over 2 decades, Nixia Dragon warned. But there was affection in his tone. What? I'm just curious. Nixia stopped directly in front of Lysiana, tilting her head like a predator scenting prey. She's pretty enough, I suppose. But is she strong enough for an alpha? That's not your concern, Dragon said firmly. Lysiana found her voice. Can I speak for myself? She met Nixia's golden gaze steadily. And I didn't ask to be here. So if you have a problem with me, take it up with fate. Nixia's eyebrows shot up. Then she threw back her head and laughed a sound like silver bells mixed with wolf howls. Oh, I like her. She's got spine. Nixia is my beta, Dragon explained. She helps me lead the pack. I protect the pack from anything that might weaken it, Nixia added, her tone friendly but with an underlying edge, including mates who might not be up to the challenge. What exactly is the challenge? Lysiana asked. Brother and sister exchanged a look. Being an alpha's mate isn't just about personal happiness, Dragon said carefully. You would be Luna of this pack, mother, to over 200 souls. They would look to you for guidance, protection, wisdom. I'm 25 years old. I spent most of my adult life running from this bond. What wisdom could I possibly offer? More than you think, Nixia said, her hostility shifting to something approaching respect. Surviving on your own in the human world for years while fighting a supernatural compulsion? That takes strength most of our pack members have never. Nita Drigan led them toward the lodge entrance. You don't need to decide about pack responsibilities now, Lysiana. This month is about us, about seeing if we can build something real together. As they entered the lodge, Lysiana was struck by the warmth of the interior. Massive fireplaces provided both light and heat. Comfortable furniture was arranged in conversation areas, and the walls were lined with books and artwork that spoke of centuries of accumulated culture. Your rooms are on the 3rd floor, Dragon said, leading her toward a grand staircase. You'll have privacy and space to think. Where are your rooms? 4th floor? Then Alpha's quarters. She nodded, relieved by the distance. And meals? We eat communally in the Great Hall, but I can have food brought to your rooms if you prefer. No, she said quickly. If I'm going to understand this world, I need to be part of it. As they climbed the stairs, Lysiana felt the weight of dozens of eyes following their progress. The pack members gathered in the common areas watched with mixtures of curiosity, hope, and barely concealed skepticism at the 3rd floor landing. Dragan stopped before an ornate wooden door. These are your chambers. There's a private bathroom, sitting area, and bedroom. If you need anything at all, just call my name, I'll hear you. He opened the door to reveal a suite that took her breath away. The rooms were decorated in rich fabrics and warm colors, with windows offering stunning views of the valley. Fresh flowers filled vases on every surface, and a fire crackled welcomingly in the hearth. It's magnificent, she whispered. I wanted you to be comfortable. His voice was soft, almost hesitant. Siana, I know this is overwhelming. Take all the time you need to settle in. When you're ready, I'll show you the rest of our world. As he turned to leave, she caught his arm. The contact sent electricity shooting through both of them, and she saw his pupils dilate in response. Thank you, she said simply, for giving me a choice, even when it cost you everything. You're worth everything, little mate, he replied, then gently freed his arm and left her alone with her tumultuous thoughts. A week into her stay, Lysiana had fallen into an unexpected routine. Mornings were spent exploring the village with different pack members serving as guides. Afternoons in the lodge's extensive library learning about shifter history and culture, and evenings sharing meals in the great hall where she slowly grew, accustomed to the pack's boisterous warmth. Dragan kept his promise, never pressuring her for more than she was willing to give. He was always nearby, but respectful of her space, answering her questions patiently and introducing her to pack members. With obvious pride, she found herself looking forward to their conversations, drawn to his intelligence and unexpected gentleness. On this particular morning, she was reading in the library when Nixia found her. Enjoying our collection? The beta asked, settling into a nearby chair with feline grace. It's incredible. I had no idea shifter civilization was so advanced. Most humans don't. They see us as monsters or myths, nothing more. Nixia studied her with those penetrating golden eyes. Hey, what do you see when you look at my brother? Lysiana set down her Buka treatise on pack dynamics and considered the question seriously at first. I saw a threat, someone trying to control my life.
Ow.
Now I see someone who's been waiting patiently for over 20 years for a woman who wanted nothing to do with him. Someone who offered to die rather than force me into something I didn't want. She paused. It's humbling. He's a good alpha, Nixia said quietly, strong enough to protect us, wise enough to lead us, but gentle enough to care for the smallest pack member. The pack adores him, but he's been lonely. An alpha without his mate is only half complete. Is that why you're pushing for this bond? I'm pushing for his happiness, and yours, if you'll let yourself have it. Nixia leaned forward. Can I tell you something? Lysiana nodded. The bond mark you bear, it's not just a claiming symbol. It's a promise. A promise that no matter what happens, you'll always have someone who will fight for you, protect you, love you unconditionally. How many people can say that? Before Lysiana could respond, shouting erupted from the village square outside. Both women rushed to the windows to see pack members gathering around a travel-stained messenger. Hunters, the messenger gasped as Dragon reached him. A large group, heavily armed. They're 2 days out and heading straight for us. Lysiana felt ice form in her veins. What kind of hunters? The kind that kill our people for sport? Nisia replied grimly. This happens every few years, humans who've learned of our existence and decide we're an abomination that needs to be cleansed. In the square below, Dragon was already organizing the pack's defenses. His voice carried clearly as he issued orders, his authority absolute and unquestioned. Watching him in his element, Lysiana felt something shift inside her chest. He's magnificent, she murmured. Yes, he is. If those hunters succeed, he'll die protecting every member of this pack, including you. The thought of Dragon falling to human weapons sent a spike of pure terror through Lysiana. When had she started caring so much about his survival? What can I do to help? You can stop fighting the bond and start embracing it. DeLuna's strength feeds into her alpha's power. If you accept your place at his side, you could help save all of us. I don't know how. The bond will show you. Trust it, Lysiana. For once in your life, stop running and trust. That evening, as the pack prepared for battle, Lysiana found Dragon on the lodge's roof, staring out at the mountains where their enemies would soon appear. The bond mark on her shoulder pulsed with his emotional state, determination mixed with fear. It's not for himself, but for his people. You're worried, she said, joining him at the roof's edge. 23 hunters with military training and supernatural weapons? Yes, I'm worried. Supernatural weapons? Silver bullets, blessed water, iron chains? They've done their research. He turned to face her. Lysiana, if things go badly tomorrow, I want you to run. Nixia will get you out. No, the word came out sharper than she intended. Not running anymore. This isn't your fight, isn't it? She moved closer, close enough to see the flecks of gold in his crimson eyes. These people have become my friends. This place feels more like home than anywhere I've ever lived. And you, she stopped, the words catching in her throat. And me? He prompted gently. You've been nothing but patient and kind and honorable. You deserve someone who fights for you, not someone who runs away at the first sign of trouble. Hope bloomed in his expression. What are you saying? Instead of answering with words, Lysiana reached up and cupped his face in her hands. The bond mark blazed to life, sending waves of connection coursing between them. For the first time since they'd met, she opened herself fully to the supernatural tie that bound them together. The effect was instantaneous and overwhelming. She could feel his emotions as if they were her own. His love for her, his fear for the pack, his desperate hope that she might choose him. And flowing back through the bond, she felt her own walls crumbling, her heart finally opening to accept what had always been meant to be. I'm saying I choose you, she whispered against his lips. I choose us. When he kissed her, the bond exploded into full bloom, connecting them on every level, physical, emotional, spiritual. Power coursed through both of them, the alpha strength. That would be needed for tomorrow's battle. They would face the hunters together, as true mates should. Whatever came after, they would face that together too. The battle came with the dawn. 23 armed humans emerging from the forest, like harbingers of death. But they hadn't expected to face a fully bonded alpha pair. And the power radiating from Dragon and Lysiana's completed bond had strengthened the entire pack beyond anything the hunters had prepared for. Lysiana stood beside her mate on the lodge's front steps, no longer the frightened woman who had been auctioned like property. The bond had awakened something primal within her, a fierce protectiveness for her pack and an unshakable confidence in their ability to defend their home. Last chance to surrender, Dragon called out, his voice carrying supernatural authority that made even the hunters hesitate. The leader, a scarred man with fanatical eyes, raised his rifle in response. Monsters don't deserve mercy. The battle was swift and decisive. The hunters' silver bullets and blessed weapons proved inadequate against shifters empowered by their Luna's acceptance, and their alphas unleashed fury. Within an hour, the threat was into some hunters dead, others fleeing back to whatever hole they'd crawled from. As the pack tended to their minor wounds and secured their territory, Lysiana found herself surrounded by pack members offering congratulations and acceptance. She was their Luna now, not by force or tradition, but by choice. The difference was everything. "I can't believe how natural this feels," she told Dregan as they walked through the village that evening. "A week ago, I was terrified of all this." "The bond knew what it was doing," he replied, lifting their joined hands to press a kiss to her knuckles. "It always does." They paused at the village's heart where a celebration feast was being prepared in honor of their mating bond. The entire pack had turned out, their joy infectious as children played between the tables and adults shared stories and laughter. "Do you have any regrets?" Dregan asked quietly. "About Corvin? About the life you're leaving behind?" Lysiana considered the question seriously. "I regret that I hurt him. He deserved better than someone who could never love him completely, but leaving that life behind?" She smiled, standing on her toes to kiss her mate softly. "No regrets at all." A commotion near the forest edge drew their attention. A horse and rider were approaching Corvan, still wearing his sheriff's badge, but with a peaceful expression on his weathered face. "Sheriff," Dregan said warily as the man dismounted. "What brings you here?" "Peace of mind," Corvan replied, his eyes finding Lysiana. "I needed to see for myself that you were happy, that you'd chosen freely." Lysiana stepped forward, Dragon's hand still clasped in hers. "I have, Corvan. I'm sorry. For the pain I caused, don't apologize for being true to yourself," he interrupted. "I can see the difference in you. You're complete now. That's all I ever wanted for you." He reached into his saddlebag and withdrew a small package wrapped in brown paper, a wedding gift of sorts. Inside was a silver locket engraved with intertwining. "Wolves, a human craftsman's interpretation of the mating bond." "It's beautiful," Lysiana breathed. "There's something inside," Corvan said. She opened the locket to find a tiny photograph herself, laughing at something outside the frame during one of their quiet mornings together. But more than that, there was a pressed flower from the garden behind his house, a small reminder of kindness freely given. "Thank you," she whispered, tears pricking her eyes. "For everything. For saving me. For protecting me. For letting me go. Be happy, Lysiana. That's all the thanks I need." As Corvan prepared to leave, Dragan approached him. "Sheriff, you'll always be welcome here. You saved my mate's life, that makes you family." Corvan nodded, mounting his horse. "Take care of her, Alpha. She's something special." "I know," Dragan replied, pulling Lysiana against his side, "and I will." They watched until Corvan disappeared into the forest, then turned back to the celebration waiting for them. The pack had prepared a bonding ceremony that would formalize what their hearts had already chosen, complete with ancient rituals and modern joy. As the moon rose full and bright above the hidden valley, Lysiana stood before her people, for they were truly hers. Neon spoke the vows that would bind her to Dragan for all their lives. His response, delivered in the old tongue, brought tears to her eyes with its beauty and sincerity when they kissed to seal their bond. The entire pack howled in celebration, the sound echoing off the mountains like a song of triumph. The woman, who had been sold like cattle, had found her true worth at last. Not as property or prize, but as a partner, protector, and beloved Luna. Later, as they danced beneath the stars with the pack celebrating around them, Lysiana marveled at the journey that had brought her here. From the auction block to this moment of perfect joy, it seemed impossible that so much could change in such a short time. "No regrets?" Dragan murmured against her ear as they swayed to the music. "Only one," she replied, making him tense slightly. "What's that?" She smiled up at him, her heart so full it felt like it might burst. "That it took me so long to stop running and realize I was already home." Their laughter mingled with the pack's celebration, carried on the night wind to the stars above, a sound of pure happiness that would echo through the valley for generations to come. The sheriff had rescued her from being sold, but she had rescued herself by choosing love over fear, belonging over isolation. And in the end, that choice made all the difference.